Welcome, everyone. Really welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you and to see some of you whom I know and some of you who I don't. But it's a pleasure to be here at this EduSoft webinar or teacher training on the student platform. Essentially, today we are going to concentrate training session on the student platform itself, the content, the structure, the features, and how best both students and teachers can benefit from using the platform. That's the objectives. In terms of organization or even topics covered, I'm going to be doing it in this way. Focusing in the beginning on getting organized on the platform. What's important to do right at the beginning to get organized. Then looking at the course of study, what it is, where it is, how it works. Then drilling down into the actual units and lessons and taking one as an example and going through all of the specific features that go with each of the lessons and seeing what value they get, what value they give, and how a student might use them and how you as a teacher might instruct your students how to get the most value out of those features. We're also going to deal with how the platform allows the students to follow progress. Going to look at student-teacher communication options from the platform, assessment on the platform. We've got a new assessment center, so I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to mention and look at all of the kind of general resources, the grammar book, the dictionary, all the stuff that comes with the enrichment from the community site for those that don't know and those who don't. I will show you games, forum, idioms, magazines. So that's the idea. That's where we're going to. And as I said at the beginning, this is aimed at everybody. It's for people who have experience with the platform, and then there will be aspects that will be renewed and a fresh perspective put on them. And there will be those of us who are new today who don't know the platform very well. Well, this is a chance to learn about it in quite a lot of detail so that you'll be able to use it for yourself and use it with your students. And most importantly, you become the agent between you and your learner so that they can use the platform to their best benefit. Okay, so bottom line is I'm going to log in as a student in a minute. So I'm just going to...
Excuse me, Jack.
Yeah.
I don't know if they told you, but here in Chile, we changed the time. We put it in 1 hour back. So I think...
Does that mean some people who wanted to attend are not attending? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it will be recorded, and there will be access to it for anybody who wants to see it.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the best I can do, I suppose.
Yeah, no, because at the beginning it appeared like if there were only 3 of us, but now no, I can see that there are 51.
People are arriving.
Okay.
Can you see my screen, everyone, or not yet? The login. Okay.
Yep.
Yes,
okay.
Everything is okay.
So we're logging in. I'm going to be Mary, student 22. I'm a student called Mary Smith, and I'm logging into the platform, and here I go. Okay. The first thing that happens is if you as a teacher decide you want to communicate directly with your students before they even start working, you have the feature where you can write a message to your students with a picture. You can add your own picture. You've got set pictures, and you as a teacher can say something directly to your students. So I'm saying, welcome to you. I've written some other messages as examples. It might be this welcome. This is a standard picture. This is done on the teacher, as a teacher on the TMS. And on Tuesday, we're going to do a session on the TMS, and then I will go into these aspects of how you do these things. But you can communicate directly from the teacher to the student. And by the way, the administrator can communicate directly from the administrator or the head of the English department or whoever it is directly to the teachers in the same way. So the moment you log on, you see these messages. So seen the messages, how we've done them, and now we want to get into the platform. Okay. The first thing to do is to make sure that your students get organized. Get organized means making sure they've got the pieces in place so that everything works well and they know what they're doing. What does that mean? These three little icons at the top are quite critical for that process. Okay, you've got the help, which is what I'm going to look at first, and you've got afterwards my info, and they should know that they have a dictionary for any vocabulary that they need. The help provides them with three critical pieces of information. One is the system check. Because the platform uses sound so much, there is so much sound, lots and lots of listening, lots and lots of speaking, voice recognition. All of this is very integral to the platform. It's important to do a system check. Basically, it really just checks the sound to make sure that the microphone and the speakers are working. That's the system check. If it's not working, the student needs to go into Chrome and see and allow microphone or whatever the definitions are. But this will tell him whether it's working or not. The second aspect of the help is we have a walkthrough. A walkthrough is basically a description of what the student will be seeing on every new screen that he comes across. So here, if you can see, it says to navigate through the program, use the links in the navigation bar, and all this down here is the navigation bar. Here it says, pointing to the name of the course. Here you will see the course you're currently studying and the lesson you worked on last. To enter the lesson, click on the button below the name. Continue, in my case, start if it's a new one. Okay, and so on. Here it's pointing to the progress bar, how well the student, how much he's done and how much he hasn't done of the course. And here actually to the three items I'm referring to. Okay, the dictionary, the help, and the my info. You can get rid of this at any point and he can bring it back at any point. He, she. Okay, whoever the student is. So that's the second thing. The third thing that's really important for orientation, perhaps the most important aspect of orientation, is something completely new on the platform, which you may not even know exists. And that is we have student video tutorials, which deal with all the different types of skills and learning required on the platform. So we've got one on time management, one on writing, vocabulary and grammar, reading, speaking, listening. Each of these videos, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, not long, go through the lessons which deal with those skills in detail, tell them what is there, tell them how to work, tell them why they should do this, gives them tips. It's so useful. It's also good for teachers. If you don't know the platform well, go in there, spend a few minutes on these tutorial videos, and you will come out knowing the platform backwards. Really very, very, very valuable for students, and it's orientation, which is important at the beginning of any new student who's arriving to work on the platform. Okay. Then, so those were the three in the. Then we move over to the next icon, which is my profile, online sessions, notifications. I'm not going to deal with study planner and log out. So let's start from the bottom. Students should log out when they finish. Although the computer recognizes every click and records every click, it is best for students to log in as they should and to log out as they should. Okay, so I'm going to go first to my profile. My profile seems like nothing, but it's quite important for the student. Why do I say that? It needs to be updated, especially with regard to their email. That means that if their email is up to date, that means if they lose their password, they can get it back. It also means that if you send information on the platform to their email on the platform, the ED email, You can also send a copy to their external email. So that means they'll get it in their Yahoo, or they'll get it in their Gmail or their Hotmail or whatever email they have, their institution email, but they'll get it both on ED and off ED, which is very, very useful if you want to communicate with your students. The next thing is at the bottom here, you'll see we have two important aspects which a student can set for themselves, but you as a teacher can actually set for the whole class or for the whole course. And that is the language of support. And okay, Spanish, but it could be other languages of support. Okay, but it's Spanish. And the degree of native language support, meaning that how much Spanish do you want your students to see? Well, I want my low-level students to see quite a lot of Spanish. And I want my high-level students to see only English, because they have to work, the low-level students have to work independently, and so they shouldn't be frustrated. I don't mean the lessons are turned into English lessons. What it really means is you've got three options. English only, low support, full support. Full support means that the interface becomes Spanish. That means instead of saying profile, it'll say perfil. Okay, or instead of saying continue, it'll say continuar. It will, simply the menus will change. The low support gives you, and if there's translations and dictionaries and all of that, there will be all of those available. For the low support, they will get translations where they should. They'll get the kind of help they should, that you're going to see. You know what, the low support is what they're going to see from me today. So you'll get an idea what it is. And English only is obviously, there's nothing in Spanish. Nowhere can it be done. And here they update, and they can set that. And that's important. It's important for you as a teacher to set it, or for a student to be able to know that he can also set that information. That's a choice that you make as an institution. So we've now looked at the first aspect. Whoops. Yeah, the first aspect of my info. Then we've got online sessions. This might also not be something that you know about. You may or may not. That means if I, as a teacher, have synchronous sessions with my students, online sessions, which all of us have experienced through COVID, and they probably will continue in some form or another, whether in the same way or different, or I don't know, but online learning is probably going to be part with us in some form or another. And so there will be blended classes online. So the teacher can put their online links into Zoom, or the link into Teams, or whatever video conferencing platform you use. You can put the link, the teacher can put it here, and then the student just comes here, clicks on the link, and they go into that platform. It makes life so much easier for them. In this case, if I pressed on this link, you would join this session. I put the link for today's session over here. But it's any session that you want. You set this up as a teacher. And again, as I said, on Wednesday, not on Tuesday, on Wednesday, we'll be doing the TMS, and I will be going in how to do that. So that's the online sessions. Then you have notifications. Is simply, if you remember what we saw at the beginning, the welcome messages, they simply appear here, and the students can access them if they want to. Study planner I'm going to ignore at the moment, and I talked about logout as being important, and logout is important. And the third icon at the top is simply the dictionary. Students should know it exists. It might be kind of obvious, but whatever you put in the dictionary, you can look it up, and you can choose your language, in this case Spanish. So let's say suitcase I wrote in, I could write whatever I want, and we can hear it. Suitcase. We get a Spanish, maleta, something that you carry your clothes in when you travel, to pack a suitcase, and that is there for the student as a resource throughout the program, throughout the platform. So even this is just initial setting themselves up, getting organized. If they know this information, it's already important because it gets them organized to work as they should. They've checked their microphone and speakers. They've updated their profile. They know when their sync sessions are. They know where the dictionaries. It's kind of getting themselves organized. Then they look down And this is the course. So now the next part is looking at the actual course. Most students have one course. They don't have lots of courses at the same time. You're either studying English 1 or English 2 or English 3 or Basic 1 or Basic 2, whatever the course name is. I'm using here our standard courses, which is a course of 10 units. That's the standard. There are others, the ones of less, the ones of 8 units. There are some institutions which use 12 units. We've got a mix, but bottom line is our standard is the 10. So that's what you'll be looking at today. So the 10 units appear in the course Basic 1. At the top, you can see which CIFA level it is. That means not that the student clicks everything they are that level without doing any work. It means that the materials in the course have been pitched at that level. That's what it means. And there's enough work if they did all the work around it to get to that level. Okay, 2 of our courses make up 1 CIFA level. So, of our core courses. If they do have more than 1 course, and it is possible that they might have more than 1 course, for whatever reasons that may be, then they simply toggle using these arrows, backwards to Basic 2, or it might be another course completely with a totally different name. We've got courses of different kinds, let's say English for Special Purposes course, or a preparation for an exam course, or whatever. There are other possibilities, but they don't normally have more than 1 course in one place. So they would only normally not normally have these arrows. But that's where they are. If you ever need them, that's where they are. Then going down, you can see that the units are arranged. If you look at the names, meet a rock star, against the law, at a restaurant, on a business trip, going out, about people, and so on. You can see the names reflect themes or ideas. And that's the way the content is organized, according to thematic ideas. In other words, the vocabulary will be connected around a theme. The reading will be around a theme. The listening will be on that same theme. The grammar will come in and use that theme. So everything will be around a theme. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to take 1 unit, going to take going out, and I'm going to go into each aspect of it. I might show you some stuff that you haven't seen before for those of you who've got experience, and I'm going to stress the use of these particular aspects. So we're looking at the unit going out. You should have noticed, and you're going to notice again later, that I have worked on this unit. I've created this user called Mary Smith, and I've been working with her a little, doing some stuff. So she hasn't worked like she should have. She really should have started at the beginning, finished Meet a Rockstar, then gone on to Against the Law and so on. So in your case, in most of your cases, I suppose, they should be following the course from Unit 1 and moving along. Notice the color coding, which is then reflected over here in this bar as to when they complete, as they move through units, the color gets filled in. So I'm going to be going now into this. If you look now, these are the lessons. In the library, Richard's Romance, Let's Go, Present Progressive. So we've got grammar, and we've got in the library, the first one is to do with listening or video viewing. The second one, Richard's Romance, is mostly reading. The third one is mostly speaking. The fourth is mostly grammar. Fifth is grammar. Sixth looks like grammar, but it's not. It's vocabulary. And it doesn't mean that our lessons only deal with one skill. They mix the skills together, but the main focus in these lessons are the ones that I've told you. You also have at the end magazine enrichment, which is a feature you may or you may not know, which I will explain a bit later. And you also have at the top this I, which is the unit objectives. This is also a relatively new feature. Okay, unit objectives, and this tells you what this tells the student what he's going to learn in that lesson. So if I'm going to in that unit, sorry. So I click on my unit objectives, and it says Unit 5, going out, objectives. This unit focuses on dating and going out. In this unit, you will watch a video clip of 2 young women in a library discussing a young man. As it happens, that focuses on present progressive. You'll see it in a minute. read a story about a young man writing a note to a young woman, listen to and take part in a dialogue between two people deciding whether or not to take a taxi. Then they're going to do the negative form of the present progressive, WH questions, present progressive, and then they're going to work with verbs, vocabulary. And remember, this is basic one, pretty simple. Obviously, the more complex. Freddie, you want to ask something?
Yeah, just to know, when I select the level of support language, low, medium, or English only, the objectives is going to translate to the Spanish too?
Yes. The objectives. It's a good question. I think so. I have to check. And you know what? At the end of the session, I won't do it now. I'll go back. I'll change to full Spanish support, and I'll see what happens. The truth is, I've never tried it. I think that's exactly what is intended to happen. In fact, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now that you asked me, I'm pretty sure. Thanks for the question. So these are our objectives. Let's now go and look in the first lesson in the library. This first lesson, I told you, focuses on listening or viewing. It focuses on the ear, let's say, okay? And just to make sure that everybody understands, if we look at it here is our basic one, here is unit 5, here are the unit objectives again, here are our lessons, lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. If I click on the lesson, I go into the lesson, that's 1. 2, every lesson is divided into steps. So if I look here, you'll see I'm now in the first lesson, which is in the library, and we can see there's a step called explore, a step called practice, and a step called test. Most of our lessons have 3 steps, but there are some lessons, usually towards the end of units, that have more steps, and if we have time, I will show you some of those. The steps just are more complex, a little bit more detailed, but basically the concept is exactly the same. Moving from exploring and getting to know, moving into practice, and then moving into being tested or being quizzed on that short, let's say 30-minute piece of work that the student has done in each lesson, more or less. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump into the explore of the first lesson, and here it is in front of us. We have the video, which we can hear. I can make it full screen, but I'm not going to because of the other stuff I want to show you on the screen. It can be full screen. The video quality is generally very good. The sound is good. The texts have been built for learners to make them both authentic in terms of the context, but simple enough for the level. And that's what they do. So you'll see this one. We'll listen to a bit of it.
He's looking over here.
Can everybody hear? Okay, thanks, Adriana. Marcella.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I'm just going to continue a bit.
He's looking over here, isn't he? Who? What are you talking about?
So there's the video. Then we have the support feature. And remember, our aim is teaching, and our aim is students working independently of us. In other words, we can work together with them on the video, but the point is most of the time they are working on their own. And so they need as much support as they can get. We want them to feel good. We want them to internalize. We want to give them material so that they can manage. Again, always remember this is a low-level text, but imagine if it was a, intermediate 3, the text is much more complex. Okay, so they've got the text here in front of them, and they can watch if they want the movement.
What are you talking about? Mark, of course. What's he doing? Is he looking over here? No, he's studying and listening to music.
So that's that. Then they have 3 features which can really help them understand this text. Let's say they're finding it difficult. Okay, so they simply left click and they can listen to that sentence again as many times as they want, hear part. They can see a translation of that sentence into, if the support was Spanish, this wouldn't appear if on a high if you chose only English. Okay, here it is. No está escuchando música. Excuse my Spanish.
No,
Okay.
no, él está estudiando y escuchando música.
Okay. The point is there is a translation, and then there is also the possibility of recording yourself. So the student can take that sentence and record themselves. They first listen to it. The system kicks in and it gives you a possibility to listen.
No, he's studying and listening to music.
No, he's studying and listening to music. I did well. Okay, so it told me I did well. Let me try again, just to show you. No, he's studying and listening to music. I didn't know. I tell you what, look at my headphones. They're new. The quality of your microphone is really important. So you should tell students if they don't get the 100%, that's also fine. Very often it's the quality of the microphone which gives them the score, which helps them with the scoring. So, okay. So I've chosen this one and I'm going to send it to the teacher. And that means the teacher will get my recording. And if the teacher wants to, can actually score these recordings. Don't have to, it's a lot of work, but it's there for the teacher. And just think how good this is for the student. That the student can practice and try again and practice again. And it's not just listening, it's putting the words into their mouths. And you have to, it's all very well for us to know that. We have to get that message over to the student, that that recording has a value. And they should do it as often as they can and as much as they can, because it gets them to use the language and put it, even though it's in such a structured form, that actually structured form is very useful for learners, especially on this kind of a level. So those three tools are here for them to use. Now we've finished with Explore. We know everything, or perhaps we don't.
Can you repeat the exercise with other paragraph, please?
Can I repeat
the exercise with
on what I did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood what you said. Is this, you asked me to repeat what I just did?
Yes, thank
you. So
you.
here, left click, left click, then I can hear part, see translation, or record myself. And all of those are what you saw. Okay?
You speak, when you speak.
Okay, here we go. So now I click on the top to hear it, and I click on the red to record it. Okay?
Speak, please. Ask.
No.
Oh.
Ask him what he's listening to.
Oh, ask him what he's listening to. Okay, I spoke slowly, I didn't speak clearly, I actually hit my microphone by mistake, and then I will send it to the teacher. Okay?
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Yolanda. Okay, so now we're moving on. We've now looked at the Explore. Practice is practice. Practice is the next stage. And I state this. This is practice. This is not test. Practice is practice. That means when the students work in practice, they can make mistakes. They can do it more than once. Their answers are not recorded and they're not judged at this point. They're simply given a chance to work through the exercises, and they must be told that, to do it until they get it right, to do it until they can understand it, to work completely on the practice. So you'll see now we've got all kinds of exercises in practice. So, all right. No, let me just do. This is Mark. This is Katie. This is Amy. I don't have to remember. I don't have to remember because I have I'm not. It's not a memory game. It's I can listen as much as I want. I can get it right. And at the bottom we have the ability to check our answers. And in this case, I got all of them right. All right, and so I move on. Here I can listen to some of the text, and then I've got to drop and drag the answers into the right place. Here, okay, so I wanted to show you this. This is very simple. Why do I want to show you this? Is let's say I made a mistake. Okay, where is Katie and Amy? And it's either in a library, bookstore, or classroom. I check and I get it wrong. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I can then clear my answer, and I can now write my correct answer and put it in. So there's no problem with that. Then this is, let's say, true or false. It says complete these sentences true or false. Now I try once, I try twice, I try 3 times. I don't really understand what I'm doing. I can check my answers, get it wrong, then clear my answers, and I'm still not knowing what to do, and I'm feeling frustrated. So we have a third option, which is C answer. It tells me what the answer is. And because you're not being judged, this is not a test. This is a learning experience. There's nothing wrong with having to look and see what the answer is if you can't do it by yourself. Okay? You're not getting any value by in other words, it's important for me to stress this, because sometimes students don't understand this and teachers don't understand that. And if I go back to the previous question, nothing is marked. It's not like a textbook where it remains. That does not mean the computer has forgotten it. It does not mean the computer does not record that the student has done that activity, has worked there. It records that the students progressed through that question and they've gone as far as they can and they've done as much as they can. Okay, so that's important for me to say. And so we come through and we finish the practice, and now we're into the practice. And finally, the last stage is test. Test is a quiz. It's a short quiz at the end of each lesson, almost each lesson, except for speaking lessons. It's the end of each lesson. And they do the quiz. They start the quiz, and I'm going to just do my quiz without looking too carefully, but they should look more carefully than me. And I'm just doing it. And they submit it, and they got 40%. They weren't very happy with what they got, or they shouldn't be. And they can review their answers, see what they got right and what they got wrong. Yes, they got wrong. That's the student's answer. What is the correct answer? Okay, that's the correct answer. And depending on your institution, they can do these tests again or not. It's your decision. It's an institutional decision whether you want the students to do these little quizzes again or not. Okay, so they finished with their test. They're now moving on to their next lesson, which was Richard's Romance, which I said focuses on reading. Again, we will have the same structure. Explore, practice, and test. Explore is get to know it. Practice is practice. And in this case, I'm going to show you something in the practice. And test will be the same concept. So what is important for me to make sure that you understand and have got are the support tools that are available for students when they are exploring. And they can hear the text.
Richard's Romance. Richard is a student.
Okay, they can hear the text. We recommend that they should not listen first. They should read first. They should only use that if they have to. That's what your recommendation should be. Then they've got the main idea. Main idea is for students who want to, let's say students find it really difficult. It's a difficult passage. So they might click on the main idea, it'll mark the main idea, and that'll help them for the rest of the passage. Or it might be they'd use it at the end of the lesson. Have I read, or at the end of the reading, have I understood or haven't I understood? Okay, so in this case, pretty simple because it's the title. It's all about Richard's Romance. But sometimes it's a sentence, sometimes the beginning, sometimes in the middle. Then they have vocabulary. This vocabulary is the important vocabulary for them to understand. And here, for them to not necessarily learn, for them to understand in order to continue working on this reading passage. So if I don't know what smiling is, I can click on it. It says,
he's smiling.
Gil is smiling because he is happy. It doesn't give me the Spanish. So I have two options here. One, I can go to my dictionary. That's easy enough, write the word smiling. But I've got an even better option. I can right click on the word. Just right-click on any word in the platform, anywhere. And it'll give me a simple translation.
Smile.
Sonreír, something like that. Show happiness or pleasure by moving your lips. And it gives me a sentence. Okay, so it gives me whatever I want, even the word explore. In other words, anywhere where I click, romance, not Richard. Okay. Interesting what would happen if I click on Richard. I'm not sure. Okay, probably nothing. So that right click is a dictionary at your fingertips, literally. Okay, so that's then the next support tool that you have to explain to your students is an incredibly useful support tool for teaching purposes and for learning purposes. It gives the references, backwards and forward references, color-coded. He is Richard, she is Penny, they are Richard and Penny. Great, we're all good at English, so we don't have a problem with that as teachers, okay? But take more complex texts. Take here, there, whatever. There are references which are much more complex, and they will be pointed out by this tool, which a student can use if they misunderstand, or even for you to use in your teaching if you're using this. Those references are important for cohesion and coherence within a passage. Okay, so now we get to we've got to know the text really well. We do our practice, we do our questions, we answer all the questions. Okay, we've looked at this kind of stuff. And finally, you come to question number 6 in this case, which is writing. Now, this demands 2 or 3 minutes of me to explain how this works, because it's not so obvious unless it's explained clearly, and that's what I intend to do now. The program allows for it has certain writing passages, not all writing passages, and you can identify them by this icon at the bottom. And you see the icon at the bottom which says 0 out of 2, automated evaluation. If a student sees that, it means that he has to submit the work twice. The first time he submits it, it gets sent to something called the E-rater, which gives him feedback. Then he fixes it up based on that feedback, and then he submits it, and it is seen by the teacher. And I'm going to submit this because I wrote this. Richard also likes fruit and vegetables. He's a vegetarian. He wants to talk and tell jokes, but he don't know what to say. Penny is shy too, so they say nothing. I was told to write a continuation of the story. There's my continuation. I'm now submitting it. And it says, are you sure your writing assignment is ready? And I say, yes. And they say, okay, you'll get some feedback later. And I'll show you in a few minutes where I get that feedback. Okay, now finished, as far as I'm concerned, with reading. I'm now going to look at the next lesson, which is speaking. Speaking is important on our platform, okay? Speaking here is a short passage, listening or speaking passage, conversation, a short conversation between two people, which we can listen to and we can see.
Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Are we walking or taking a taxi?
Okay, so we have the same.
Let's walk. The weather is beautiful.
Sorry, we have the same tools that we've got on the others. Okay, I can hear part, I can see translation. It's a simple text. We want the students to more or less learn this by heart so that they can use it and integrate it into their own speaking. So what they have is, we've now explored it in detail. We're now moving on, and we now want to practice, and this will just be simply different aspects of comprehension. Notice this question here. This, I don't know if you know, it is the type of question students get on international tests for listening, where they're given a picture on the TOEIC bridge, okay? On international tests, this is the kind of exercise that students get for listening. They get a picture, they've got to then listen to options.
D, 2 people are sitting down. C, 2 people are jogging.
And so on. Okay, the truth is it's A.
2 Two people are standing outside.
Okay, so I would choose that. I'm just giving this an example so that you can see that we've integrated, let's say, international test type questions. Very often stuff that's used universally all over the world, especially tests that are created through ETS, which we are part of. Okay, so these questions will appear from time to time so that students will get used to them. So we now go through all of the questions, we answer them, and then we come to the end, and that is here, interact. Interact is not a test, it's our, we're on to interact, which is our third step. And here the students take a role, they play a part. Okay, am I going to be the guy, or am I going to be the girl? Let's say I'm going to be the guy. Start. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
3, 2, 1. Then get to me. 3, 2, 1. Are we walking or taking a taxi?
Let's walk. The weather is beautiful.
I wait, it's my turn. That's a great idea. Now, what will happen is when I see the feedback, which is here in red and green, it'll indicate what the voice recognition considers can be improved. Really, again, I would not stress this with your students. It's important, it's there, it can help. But bottom line, they try and get everything to be green, and they can re-record themselves as many times as they want. But the bottom line is they're learning to talk within the structure. They can hear it lots of times. They can do it as many times as they want. They can change the characters. It's a very, very useful tool. And you have to teach them how to use it and why to use it and what to do with it, to make sure that they don't just think they're clicking in order to do, they're practicing talking in a way which is going to help them. Okay, so now we've finished with that. We have three more lessons left. Present progressive, which is grammar. We have present progressive, which is grammar, and we have verbs. I'm going to take 1 minute. I'm going to show you one of them, not both, so because they both the same conceptually. Again, explore. And how do we explore in grammar? We're given a sound text, a very brief context for this.
Let's go to the beach now. It isn't raining anymore.
Okay, so it's simple. We're doing present progressive negative. It isn't raining. That's all. Then down at the bottom on the left-hand side, might not be obvious to you, but down on the bottom on the left-hand side, it says see explanation. Click on it and you will see there's an explanation, simple explanation. This is now in Spanish because there's minimal Spanish, there's a bit of Spanish support, low Spanish support. If it said only English, there would be no English. There'd be no Spanish. It would be written in English. So, and then they go on, and I don't have to show you too much more because it's the practice, and they would be practicing this structure, the present progressive, and you'll have different kinds of questions, practicing the present progressive, and a test at the end of it. I'm going to jump to our last type. And I do it on purpose because there's something at the end of the last lesson of the unit which you probably have not seen before. For those that know the platform and for those that don't know the platform, you'll see it for the first time. Okay, so this is our last lesson of the unit on vocabulary. We've got our explore, ask, listen, look over, meet. These are the words they want us to make sure that we know. You can see pictures. We can hear it.
Meet.
We can hear a sentence.
Let's meet at the cafe at 7 o'clock.
We can record ourselves. All of those features are there. Students by this stage should know this vocabulary, should make sure they put it in their mouth, if they can say it, they can say these sentences. We want them to come out with these words. Then they've got practice. The practice is all kinds of practice. In this case, it's a game, memory game. Then you've got dictation. They've got to listen and write the words. And then they're going to come, I'm just rushing to the end simply because I want to do the test, which is the only part that you haven't seen. And we're going to do the test for this. So I'm just going to do the test, moving along. And if you remember, we started with the objectives, and we're going to meet those objectives now again at the end after our last test of the unit. This test seems to be going on forever. The testing all 10 words that the ED wants them to make sure that they know. We submit it, we get our grade, and then we click next. And here you get reflections. Here students reflect on their own learning, and they say to themselves what they think they did well at, and what they did well at, and what they did not so well at. And here we've got the objectives. Now I can, let's take the bottom one, identify and use words and phrases that are verbs very well. Now I can ask simple WH questions in present progressive, and I know that well. This is just an internalizing of the process of learning, which helps them understand what's going on, what they were supposed to be doing. That makes them think about their own learning, and these objectives appear here. So we've looked at one lesson, one unit in a lot of detail. I'm now going to rush back to the home page. The student, by the way, can see their own progress, but I'm going to show you that. They can then see what they've achieved. And we're going to look at the home page very briefly. What you have here is, first of all, the student has moved along. They have completed 7% of the full course. Still got lots to go. You can see all of this has not been done. They've got an average test score, well, I wasn't very careful for the student, of 32. It's all the test scores that they've done so far added together. It doesn't include the tests that they have not done, obviously. Okay, this student has spent 1 hour and 17 minutes on the platform in total. Okay, because I started playing before our session for about 17 minutes, I suppose. Okay, so that's all there. And they can then see that progress in detail. My progress, and they can see they've worked on going out, they've worked on this. In going out, they've got 49% completion. In Meet a Rockstar 21, 0, 0, 0 in all the others. And they can click on this and they can drill down into the actual lessons and units. So I'm now in unit going out. If I click here, I can see, hey, this is my lessons. This is lesson 1 in the library. Hey, I completed the explore. I didn't do the practice completely, it's in progress. I completed the test and I got 40%. I can see exactly what I've done. And if I click on one of these, it will lead me back to that unit to complete that lesson. Okay, so the student can really follow their own progress very, very easily. They can know exactly what they've done and where they've been. Okay, we were here, and I want to now look at what remains over here on this navigation bar. The first thing we have here is the grammar book. The grammar book is simply a resource of all the grammar that is taught in the entire program. And it's a resource because it doesn't contain exercises. It is merely explanations, and the student or the teacher can click on the grammar book. Let's say I'm interested in tenses, or let's say we're learning past simple, and I want to get the information about irregular verbs. So I'll click on irregular verbs, and it will give me, one, the contextual situation. And here, where it says see explanation, I will get the explanation that I would have got if I was doing the exercises. In Spanish, in this case, with examples of verbs that are suitable for that level to learn on irregular verbs. Actually, no, that would be the example of irregular verbs for anyone who looks at that. So that was that. The next thing we have is a way to communicate student, teacher, teacher, student. I mentioned this before at the beginning. The teacher can write emails to the student can write emails to the teacher. When the teacher writes emails to the student, they can also click a little checkbox, and I'll show it to you if you come to the TMS session. There's a little checkbox, which means that that letter will also be sent, that email will also be sent to the external email address. So that's all in here. If I just click inside, you'll see what it looks like. So here is inbox. I can write, I can delete, sent items. This is my teacher sent me a message. Welcome to the ED course. I can open it, I reply. There's nothing much for me to explain because that's, you know, everybody knows how email works. This is a simple email program between teacher and students, not between students. Then we have the assessment center. The assessment center, I'm going to go into a lot more detail on Thursday, but the assessment center is a center where students can see what tests they have, what tests they've done. So in this case, I've set a basic 1 midterm test for 2 days for Mary. She knows that it is here, that she can start it in 2 days and 6 hours. All she has to do is press start test and the test will open up for her. We can also set placement tests. This shouldn't be here because the student's probably already done it to placement test. But we can set a placement test so the students can go in and do a placement test if we would like them to do that. That's sometimes useful for an institution. Okay, the placement test then says where they should be on the platform. My previous tests, all of the results appear here. There's a list of all the results of my previous tests. When I say these are midterm tests and course tests, I'm not talking about the little quizzes at the end of every lesson. So that's the test center. And for the students, that's how they know where to go, what to do. Then we have assignments. Assignments are anything that I have sent to my teacher, and I may or may not get feedback, either from the teacher or for the computer. So I've sent sound and I've sent writing. Those are the two things I've sent. So if I'm looking here, my recordings, I sent the recordings. If you saw me sending recordings to do within the library, I can then listen to the recordings myself, click on it and I listen. And if my teacher decides to give me a score, it will appear here. Okay. And so it goes. Then we have my writing assignments. Do you remember I said writing assignments of the special type, writing assignments that don't have that icon that I showed you, go straight to the teacher's inbox. Writing assignments that do have that double submission land up here, and they get looked at by the E-rater first. So here, I've got an indication here, this purple indication that I've got something which I need to look at. Let's see feedback and try again. So let's see what my feedback is. Tells me how many words I wrote and so on. That's less interesting to me. It says, please review and then resubmit. And here is my text. You remember Richard also likes. And by moving these arrows, I will get the automated feedback from something called the E-rater, which is not meant to pick up every mistake. And it's not meant to tell me what to do. It just points out where I should think that there may be a problem and if I can possibly fix it. And so I can click here and it says, you have many short sentences. You can improve your sentence structure by combining sentences. I don't have a mistake. Then click again, next, and it says, oops, vegetables, spelled wrong. So I can go in and I can correct my spelling, okay, of vegetables. And so that's what I should do. Okay. And then, you know what? Okay. And then it says here, missing a capital L on he. Okay, he is a vegetarian, so I'm going to fix that. And so on. Every time I see one of these and do something, I can say to myself, did it? And that reminds me that I don't have to go back. So I can leave some, come back to them later. This reminds me that I've done it. This one says you have many short sentences. Yeah, I got the point. It's going to say it every short sentence. So, okay. You have used these transition words, but, and phrases in your writing. Check if you've used each one correctly. It doesn't say it's wrong. It just says transition words. Make sure you've got the right one, and so on. Now, I think I'm very happy with my work, and I'm going to resubmit it, and I'm going to send it in, and now it will go to my teacher. So now I'm finished. I'm finished with my my assignments. Lastly, before I come to an end, right at the end of the session, we have the community site. Now, the community site is a resource rich with options for students. It is the area where students can do all kinds of things which are not part of the individual course. And I want to show you two things very, very briefly. First of all, what you have here in the community site, is the teacher can create, and I will show teachers how to do this on Wednesday, okay, to create a forum so students can discuss things on the forum. There are games for students to play, simple games, crossword puzzle, hangman type games. There are idioms for students to play with, to learn, to listen to get to know. And there is something called the Discoveries magazine, which has new articles every month. 3 new articles every month. It's one of the nicest resources of the platform for independent work or for guided work by teachers or for project work. And the reason I'm going to stop here for a second and okay. I want to show you. This is April 2022. In other words, this came out 2 days ago. I haven't seen them yet. I haven't even managed to look at them, but they come out every month. So we've got what is pickleball, robot dogs, and very cool art. Okay, I like very cool art. I want to read it. And I see here, first of all, my eyes, I'm getting a bit older, and with time, my eyes are not what they used to be. Okay, so I made the font a little bigger, and I see here, Simon Beck loves the snow. He's a snow artist. Beck draws pictures in the snow with his feet and snowshoes. Great, this is the length. I read this. I have at the bottom keywords. I can look and see what the keywords are. It'll open up a dictionary and tell me what, some kind of dictionary, and tell me what they are. Anyway, I have a dictionary even if they doesn't appear there, okay, because I've got a dictionary all the time. On the top right-hand side, I've got my right-click dictionary. I can really get to know this. Nobody can say that I can't get to understand this. I can, if I want to, okay? However, I can also move one step higher, or the teacher can move me one step higher, or I can choose to be one step higher. And then I've got a longer article on the same topic, the same ideas. Simon Beck is a snow artist. Beck draws his designs by, it's already more complex. Look at it here, longer. And then we can go to advanced, and that too appears here. We've got a quiz that appears here, self-testing quiz. It's not that the teacher gets the results of this quiz. And everything here can be accessed through topics. Every article can be accessed through topics. So a student can say, I'm interested in environmental issues, and they will get all the environmental articles, 62 of them, on the platform. So that's really very, very useful. And I've left this to last because I want to just jump back to one thing. When we go to our lessons, there was something I did not show you because now you'll understand what it is. If I go now to going out, if you remember at the bottom, we've got something, magazine enrichment. Now, if I choose, let's choose this one, this is clearer. Magazine enrichment, it will send me to the community site where the articles are. And it'll send me to a specific article or 2 or 3 that relate to the topic of that unit, a broadening of the unit. So it's outside the framework of the actual unit, but it's connected to the unit in terms of reading the topic. In this case, this one was, this is health and fitness. And so jumping for joy, punching out Parkinson's, and the Daily Mile. And let's say I'm interested in Parkinson's and whatever. Then I will read this article on 3 levels like I showed you. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end. I'm going to stop sharing, and we have come to the end. I know that there has been a lot to take in. This session has been recorded and will be made available. It is intended to be a training session which you can use for yourselves and for teachers. It's limited in that there were some areas I didn't go into a lot of detail, and I will be going into some of those areas in more detail in the next 2 training sessions that have been scheduled, one on the TMS and one on new features. And I did not have a chance while talking to look into the chat. So I will happily remain online, answer any questions that you wish to ask. I won't keep you, because I'm sure there are many of you who set aside this hour and are ready to leave. So I will stay nevertheless, answer your questions, and I will look in the chat. But I'm going to just, for the moment, actually stop the recording. So thanks for coming, everyone.